So the book of Daniel is a favourite of many people, and it's particularly popular in Sunday schools. So perhaps if you grew up in a church, you might have looked at it then. And you know what? It has all the makings of a great story. It's got memorable characters, it's got cliffhanger drama, it's got science fiction-like visions, it's got a hero with a mission and villains that are easy to hate and death-defying situations. It's kind of like Harry Potter meets Lord of the Rings with a dash of Star Wars thrown in. And yet this whole storyline can be a potential problem because human actors and dangerous events are really, really fascinating. But what it means is that we can sometimes be tempted to read this book and kind of fix our gaze on Daniel and on the human view of what he achieves. But when this happens, then what we risk doing is losing sight of the fact that this book is ultimately not about Daniel and his three friends, but about God and his victory in the world. And sure, the book of Daniel tells Daniel's story, and it is an incredible story, but the main purpose of Daniel and the way that Daniel writes and the story that he's trying to reveal to us is actually who God is, his character, his purposes, his way of working in the world for the good of his people. And so the main lesson of Daniel is not dare to be a Daniel, but the main point is this: dare to trust in Daniel's God. Daniel himself wrote the book, and he wrote it to point upwards, not inwards, not to shine a light on himself, but to shine a light on God. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of context for this today, in case you, like me, enjoy knowing where this fits into the bigger narrative of the Bible and into history. So it was written in the 6th century BC, in the midst of the rise and fall of various world empires. So if we just go from David, that I think lots of us know a bit about David. David wrote lots of the Psalms and he was a king. So after David was king, then his son Solomon was king. Solomon's the one that built the temple in Jerusalem. After Solomon died, there was then a split between the north and the south of Israel. So the northern kingdom remained being called Israel, and the southern kingdom was called Judah, which was one of the 12 tribes of Israel, but then that's how they were named when they split. So we've got Israel and Judah. And then the narrative of the Bible focuses largely on the southern kingdom, on Judah, particularly as about 200 years after King Solomon, the northern region of Israel fell to the Neo-Assyrian Empire, the like newly Assyrian Empire that was up and coming. And so that no longer exists then. We then only had the south. And it was another, about 100 to 150 years until the Judah Empire was taken over by the Babylonian Empire, who also took control of the Assyrian Empire. So in case you hadn't clocked, this split into Israel and Judah and then the fall of Israel is why we then stop talking about the Israelites and we start referring to the Jews from the tribe of Judah. That's where the word Jew comes from, but it was originally a part of Israel. So it is a continuation of Israel's story, but the split just sort of changed some of our language. And so it was during this time that lots of prophecies were recorded, lots happened, and I haven't got time to summarise everything that happened. But I would really encourage you to delve into the chronology of the Old Testament and understand that timeline from Moses to Daniel, or even from David to Daniel in a bit more detail. Just having a look on the internet gives you some timelines so you can kind of get your head around what happened in that gap. So we're in 600 BC. Daniel was a Jew. He was from the tribe of Judah, and it's now been taken over by this Babylonian Empire that's come in. And the events in the book of Daniel take place between two major world-changing events. We've got the rise of the Babylonians under King Nebuchadnezzar, and then the displacement later on of the Babylonians by the Persians under Cyrus, roughly 70 years later. So we've got the rise of the Babylonians at the start, and then the displacement of them at the end. And over the next few weeks, mostly in our small groups, but a little bit on Sundays, we're going to be looking at this book of Daniel, who lived a life of faithfulness and freedom. And we're going to see various situations that Daniel was faced with, as well as some pretty crazy dreams that he has. But whatever was going on, Daniel showed a deep level of faithfulness in Yahweh. He continued to trust in him with his life, and because of this, he lived a life of freedom. He was free from fear, free from condemnation, free to stand firm in the things that mattered. And this tells us a lot about Daniel, but a great deal more about Yahweh. What sort of a God can be trusted like this? And we'll see over the next few weeks. So we're going to get into chapter 1 today, but we're going to be doing it a little bit differently. Often we do something like a 20-minute video with a few questions, but today the video is going to be a bit shorter, and I've sent your small group leaders a bunch of questions ahead of time to get you chatting. So it's going to be a bit more like a Bible study. You're going to open it, you're going to read it, ask your own questions, obviously, share your thoughts, and just unpack the chapter together. What I would say is that there is a theme throughout Daniel of being in the world, but not of the world, and how God helps Daniel to get that balance right. And I wonder if in the next few weeks, how you see this in different ways as we read through the book of Daniel, how we see this play out, and how we can think about how it applies to us as we live now. So I'm going to hand over to you to read the first chapter and then get into the questions. Make sure you have a couple of different versions open, because that always helps, and start asking, start exploring. Over to you.